Alright, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Alright, gotcha. Now let me check my router. I want to see what server this thing's gonna put me on.
Beat on 1 said.
Oh, beat on 1 said. Okay, let's invite the beat on. Everybody wants in. Let's meet in the Lion, so we sync up. The draft order. Draft order is going to be first pick goes to Chester, aka Mr. IT23. Second pick goes to the new guy, A Crux Alliance. Third pick goes to C Beaton. Fourth pick goes to Nightwolf. So for those of you that are not aware, is a beta chapter bro Jarrell, aka Jar, created this little app that ranks players based on their Call of Duty stats, specifically KD, score per minute, accuracy, and win percentage. It uses that. It ranks everyone. Pretty much it puts them in tiers, but really it ranks them numerically. So right now we created a ranking based on the statistics snapshot from a couple of days ago. So what we're going to do, the format of this is we're going to talk from the worst to the best. So from 20 to the first, as far as statistically, but each one of us, Ace and I, have our own rankings. We're each going to say where we view every specific player. So statistically, the 20th guy, we may agree that he's the 20th guy. Actually not as bad. He's not the worst. He's like the next to the worst. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the format of the conversation. All right, so get it going, Ace. So number 20.
Go.
Number 20, the
The
lowest ranked
rankings
player.
number 20. Yep, go ahead.
It is Diablo 9 Christian. Your thoughts on Christian being number 20?
You're breaking up a little bit, Felipe. Diablo 98 to me came. He's ranked number 20th on my list. For those of you that do not know, I adjusted based on what I believe are important stats, as well as added value to time played, because I believe it is important, not a non-factor. So Diablo 98 comes in number 20th on this list. He just, he's a decent player, doesn't play enough, and you know, doesn't know objectives, things like that. So that's why he's number 20 on my list.
So, just to clarify, time played is listed on the tracker that we have. You can find the tracker within our chat group and WhatsApp, but it's not in the numerical formula to arrive to the ranking.
Right. So what is the ranking for you of
So
Diablo?
for me, I have him as number 19. So I don't have him as the last player. Honestly, I think Diablo is a very busy guy. You know, he doesn't, like, let's say, play as much as like guys. Famous for randomly deciding to cap the opposite flag in domination. You know, for that. So he's liable to just do really dumb shit once in a while, but he's a good listener, I think. I think he played this game with us now, what, 3 years? He's all right, but he just doesn't grind it. He's a busy guy. You gotta, like, tell him A, B, C. Don't do anything else other than this, because otherwise you'll wander and be like, oh, I didn't know. You know what I mean? So you gotta be careful with him. But he's just a busy guy, so that's probably why he's ranked low.
You're breaking up, man.
One
Are you
second.
talking?
What about now? I just unplugged my mic and replugged it.
Yeah, better.
Okay. Actually, let me...
We didn't hear the last piece you said about Diablo.
Second.
Nope. In and out. In and out.
What about now? I just unplugged my headset and replugged it. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
All right,
You
perfect.
talking?
So I just said that, you know, he's a busy dude. That's really why he's ranked low. He doesn't grind the game. Skill set is decent, but his IQ, game knowledge, situational awareness, he grind the game. He just runs around. You tell him what to do, and he'll do it. If you don't tell him, he'll fuck up because you'll get lost. You have anything else to add on Diablo?
Nope. I think we've covered him pretty well.
All right. So next guy, number 19, statistic. EB man. Just to clarify for the new guys. So Diablo lives in Florida. So when you draft, ping matters. So Diablo lives in Florida. So you gotta be aware that you may have a ping issue because he's out in the middle, far further than most of us. And that's a theme for some of these low rank guys. So you gotta be aware that he could also possibly have a connection issue. Servers mid states or northeast. Next guy is Kibi. Kibi 19. He's got a 0.89 KD, 240 SPM, 12.9 accuracy. So very low accuracy for Keebs. Thoughts on Keebs? Where do you have him?
So I have Kiwi ranked number 17. 2 spots higher than what the statistics have him at. I think Kiwi is, overall a very good player. I think again, very common across these guys on the bottom end is that they don't play enough. They don't know locations, where to stand to prevent, flows, so choke points and things like that. Kiwi, he's just one of those guys that can be really dangerous when he's hot, but can be, not in his game and then kind of just there for the team. So it depends on what type of Kiwi you get. But he's 17 on my list.
I got Kibi at 18, so not the last, not the next to last. He's actually, I don't know, Amelie, he actually has 12 days played, so like he plays. I've been in a team with Kibi before. He showed up to practice. He's not afraid to grind. You know, he managed to like schedule to be available. So I would say that he's available. His downside is, we said this last time, he rages. Like, he'll just fucking go off the deep end. Like, if this guy right here, if Bedon kills Kibi, Kibi loses his fucking mind. He starts screaming, ah, fucking me on. And then he'll say that for like 5 seconds. So, like, A, he rages. B, he lives in Texas. So sometimes his connection may be shit. But he's a good player. If you, like, communicate, he executes strats. He does his role. He doesn't like just fucking wander. But his downside is, I would say, ping. I would say temperament. Loses his mind, loses his composure, starts screaming, and then the lines are chaotic. But tell him what to do. He could do that job well. So, you know, those. At comms, I would say comms are like maybe below average because he's more known for raging than for being cool and say I'm doing here, you know what I mean? So, but I think he's moldable and he can put in time. So I would say that you can mold him if you're willing to. The long tournament. The difference from this tournament to other tournaments is we got 8 weeks to make some of these meatballs actually good. So different to a 1 weekend crash course. Actually help a player grow, and I think he has potential. Next guy. Anything else on Kibi before we move into the next one?
Nope.
So, as a reminder, we have a last-minute droppy. Obsolete Empire. He didn't even make it to I-Night. He fucking dropped. So we got big Pud coming in. Raf Morales would statistically come in at this point. Actually be at technically 19 or 18 per se. What are your thoughts on Big Pun?
Well, I don't have his stats here on my bar spreadsheet because obviously it was last minute, but
Last minute, he just paid.
Yeah, obsolete. Obviously, I believe is a little bit better than Pun. I had obsolete right at 18 at his rank. You know, so Pun I think is slightly below that. So I would probably put, if I had to re-rank this, I'd probably put Kibi slightly ahead of Pun. Pun is improving a lot. You know, he's getting better gun game wise. He's made some adjustments to his guns. I think he can benefit from a leader that can sit down with him, kind of coach him through, like, you know, go do some aim training, right? Like Munya likes to call it, and then teach him to adjust his settings. You know, when to charge, when to stay back. I think he can certainly improve his game. He's a fun guy to play with. He actually knows locations of certain maps, so he's getting better at that. He won't lose his cool. He's actually a cool guy to play with. I mean, he's gonna clown around. So from a personality perspective, obviously a good pick.
Ping wise, I guess to me, I worry about ping. I think connection's important in this game. He's in New York City. He's gonna have a great connection. He could be a host because he recently hosted for us on Thursday, and he has like 500 down, 100 up. So connection wise, he'll be good. Temperament wise, he's a laughable, funny guy. Everybody likes him. He doesn't rage, so he's the anti-Kibi. He's the opposite of Kibi. Playing this, he's got 4 days of playtime, so not a lot, but sufficient. I mean, he's KMF old school, so he's been doing this for a long time. I would say his downside is I don't think anyone has really like, yo, Pun, let's talk strats. Yo, Pun, I noticed you did this. Let's work on this. Let's work on that. He always just plays for fun, right? He's typically just been a laughable, ha kind of guy. So if you want to win, because we're playing for fucking $600 plus another $500 in bonus money, then you might want to be like, all right, dude, like, time to joke, and there's a time to like fucking get better. And I think Pun can get better. I just think he and no one else has ever really put in the time to do that. So he actually has the absolute lowest KD, 0.58. He's got the absolute lowest accuracy at 11. Wins 49% of the game. So lots of room for improvement. I do think he can improve because I just don't think he's ever taken the game that seriously. Availability to get better, practice time, You know, he's pretty whooped. I'm kidding. You know,
Oh.
it depends. I don't know his availability to grind and get better. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Although I do see him recently. He does play. So I think he can get better. I think he's like a Kibi that he can improve because I think he's competitive. He hates to lose. So I think he's a project. He could be a good tier 5 guy that surprises and maybe becomes a Shala or maybe even becomes a Rizard. You know, I think that.
Yeah, so one thing about Punt that we haven't said is that he is not afraid of OBJ. He'll get in the point. He'll
Yes,
go
yes,
after
good
the
point.
hard point. He'll go after the flag. He'll sacrifice himself. He doesn't care about KD. He cares
Yes.
about OBJ, getting the objective, getting the flag. So he's definitely the
Facts,
type of guy
yes.
you want to have because he will go after the objective all the time. So
Not allergic to the OBJ like some of these motherfuckers. Very good point. That's a very.
yeah,
Anything else on Pun?
no, I think that's it.
Next was obsolete, but as the 17.
No, yeah, Absolute was 18, 17, and 1.
Oh, sorry, he was 18. Yeah, 17 is N1, NYC. Thoughts on Nick?
Yeah, so I have Nick ranked 19th, 2 spots down. With my formula, you know, you look at his stats. His 2.77 KD is right there at the bottom of the list of folks. Very low accuracy, very low win percentage. I know he plays a lot of Warzone. You know, very, you know, he doesn't play a lot of multiplayer. I think he plays a lot more Warzone than MP. It's also from an OBJ perspective, it's difficult, you know, to communicate with him. So just keep that in mind. So that's it. That's all I have on N1.
N1, I have him as number 20. I have him as lowest ranked guy. Has only played, so he doesn't grind the game. Oh really? He doesn't grind the game a lot. So I would say room for improvement. Settings I think are terrible. Sometimes the way he moves around, he's super jerky. So I think his settings and his loadouts probably no one has worked. He is deaf, so communication with him will be tough. So I think that's what Ace means by, you know, like OBJ and communicating with. You gotta have a plan ahead of time. You gotta like have your strats laid out ahead of time and give him a role. Here he is a hard kill sometimes, but again he doesn't have that CDL knowledge. He doesn't have that, like I guess experience of playing the game. Not going to be able to. You're going to struggle to make adjustments mid-game if you don't have a clever way of communicating with him and like text him something on the side, or, you know, like if he were to be on my team, I would set up a system with him where, like, all right, listen, if I text you this, it means this. If I text you that, it means that, and I could just text him quick in 3 seconds, and so like, I'll tell him have your phone available so we adjust our plan if suddenly we have to do something. This is an 8-week setup, so you have time to make a plan with him. He can execute on his own, because there's a lot of guys here that are hearing and they don't speak for fucking shit and don't make any comms. So like honestly, I don't think this is the end of the world, because half of these guys don't have any comms. So
no, I agree.
put it in perspective.
Yeah, no. But I mean, strictly on his stats. You know, his KDs.
He doesn't play much.
And his win percentage are very low. I took that into account, and then his play time, his MP play time is 2 days, I took that into account as well. So,
all right, next 16 Nas 197, aka Goes. Have him at.
So this is where we're gonna start getting into some surprises with my formula. I have Nas ranked number 12 on my list, and I'll tell you why. His KD 0.83 is actually low on the surface, but I feel that he's getting closer to a 1.0 KD, because if you recall, he was like 0.4, 0.5 for like a good 4 or 5 months, and for him to make this much ground in the last 5 or 6 months, that means that he's really slaying lately. So I made a slight adjustment there, just on what I feel perception wise. Nas, he plays a lot, man. He has 17 days playing time,
Yep.
so I adjusted based on that. He wins a lot, 54%. He communicates. He knows the points. He knows rotations. Um, he's a good team player, right? So he'll go with the plan. Um, really much improved. I have nothing else to say negative about Nas. I think he's number 12 on my list.
So Nas for me is 15, actually one spot above. I also put a red flag that he has the third or second lowest KD at 17 days played. So that's like surprising that so much time played that low. The accuracy is 14, so it's almost like third worst. So that to me says like something's going on with his setup. That you shouldn't have such a low accuracy if you played this a long time. But I think that you can probably work through those things. He's a mellow guy. He's a complainer some. Like, oh fuck you shit. Oh my gun is jammed. Oh fuck I can't. Like he'll make random call outs of complaining, but really that's workable. He's like a mellow guy, easy to get along with. He listens to stuff. So I think you could. That's what you would need to work on. I think you would need to work on his comms to just stop the fucking random complaining that just clutters the sound waves. And I would hi honey, or that I would also have him focus on his accuracy, so like his loadout. I think he must have like really shit loadouts that he probably inherited. But anyway, so that is Nas. I don't know, a lot of time played, so he's not afraid to grind. So he's not afraid.
Yep.
15.
That was it from
Suicidio.
Suicidio. Suicidio, based on my formula, is actually number 14, so one spot better. The sheet has him at. He has not a lot of time playing, 5 days, which is towards the bottom of the pack. But statistically, his .87 KD is not tremendously bad when you compare it to a lot of the middle pack guys that are in the .9-ish. His score per minute of 289 is solid. Solid accuracy, 47% winning percentage. So I think statistically, when I put in the weight factors of the KD, the score per minute, and then I factor in the gameplay, he was moved up slightly one spot. In terms of
I did get a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish. I'll finish, and then I'll.
In terms of his gameplay, he is similar to your description of Nas. If he's doing good, he'll be clowning around and kind of adding, making the team feel better. But if things are going bad, he can be like, "Oh man, beat on," or Felipe, Balvin.
Please, that's for beat on. That's his only OBJ that matters. Yeah.
Right. From an OBJ perspective, he tends to be camping back lately. He used to be an OBJ guy, but I think he's concerned about his KD now because of we're tracking stats. So lately he hasn't been OBJ as much. But I think he can learn. He'll be down to like play. He's one of those that he may not be available multiple times a week, so practice could be a concern. So keep that in mind if you're drafting. He'll be there Thursdays. He'll be there maybe twice. He could be there on the weekend, maybe one day on the weekday. So keep that in mind. That's it.
So I had a question from the chat. I clarify Nas's lives at. So he lives in Atlanta. He should have a decent connection. Not be a problem as far as connection wise, because there's like a I don't remember him complaining about his connection. They're relatively close. A lot of these servers are in the Midwest, middle of the country. So Suicide, I got Suicide as a 16. So actually, slightly one spot below his touched on the reasons. I think he plays more for the ha-has. He plays for fun. Like, he plays for laughs. He doesn't really like, oh, let's buckle down. Like, oh, let's talk strategy. Like, I think he's got the attention span of, like, I don't know, Kibi. You know what I mean? Like, he's not one that's gonna grind the game because he's a busy dude. Like, he coaches his kid's football team. He does tons of shit. He's also whooped, so his availability is gonna be limited. To, like, let's learn all these map strats. So I think you give him a limited role and say, here's your role where you show up, learn this, do this, and then, work. Not a guy that's gonna are no red flags. He's not atrocious in anything. He's a little low, but I don't think he really takes the game. Funny dude, likable dude, easy to get along with. He's not like temperamental like me. He's not gonna like me. He's like laid back. But that's what you got.
Yep.
Next guy, Shaba Ace.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I was looking at the chat.
He's 14. Ranked
He's
14 statistically.
Okay, I moved him down 2 spots, 16th on my rankings, for 2 reasons. If you look at his KD, 0.93 is a little low, and then his score per minute surprisingly was very low at 240. So that, when I factor in the weighting factor of the KD with the score per minute, he actually went down 2 spots. But surprisingly enough, has a super high accuracy of 20% and a decent win percentage of 44%. So it's not bad with 12 days play. So solid overall player. In terms of Shaba, man, he's good. He's a good, hard person to kill sometimes when he's on his game. He knows the rotations. He knows the hard points. He knows where to be at for domination. I haven't played a lot of search with him, so I'll defer to you on that. I think he takes his communications leave a little to be desired. But overall, I think he's a good player. Obviously, he was part of the last winning championship team, so obviously he did something well. But that's my assessment of him.
So I got Shaba's ranked statistically at 14. I have him at 14 as well. I think he has a low SPM. He's got a low or high accuracy. He only wins 43% of the games, which is pretty low. So like you mentioned, he was on our God squad, right? We just went undefeated. We whooped everybody's ass. He was an integral member of us whooping everybody's ass because I think we had good strats that maximized his skill set. The man, he could kill. His comms are always kind of suspect. So what we did is we used him at the OBJ. He hung back, and he wasn't in the middle where he has to like make call outs and communicate and coordinate. He hung back with a long AR and he fucked people up. And so I think we used him to his strength. So if anybody's a good captain, you got to use your players to their strength. And I think Shaba could be really good. He's a steal. He won't do dumb stuff. He plays. He's a gamer. He plays a lot. He's not afraid to grind. Rank low. Pubs, he doesn't do that. Like, I think when he plays pubs, he tries to push and he just fucks around and dies. But in the tournament setting, he could be a really good. But he's also hard of hearing, so communication, he may not hear call outs. You gotta like really clearly and be really concise in your statements, because sometimes either hearing him or him hearing you could be an issue. But I've done several tournaments with him. I've won twice with him. I think I feel comfortable playing with him, but you definitely gotta be aware and make sure you clearly and you have a role that put him to his strengths. So
yeah,
next guy.
He's in Texas. He's in Texas as
well. Oh, he's in Texas. Yep. So thing wise, that's also another reason why I used him that way, Kevin and Wolfie, because his ping sometimes is suspect. So you don't want him with an SMG up ahead slaying because he's going to get eaten alive on pure ADS. So
All right.
13, Omni Cloud 8. What are your thoughts on Omni Cloud?
So OmniCloud is number 11 on my list. Moves up 2 spots. Uh, he has a .9 KD, but a pretty solid 315 SPM, 18% accuracy, and 48% win percentage. 4 days gameplay. Playtime. But I think he switched accounts, obviously. So I factor in the fact that he has played much more than that. So when I factor in the better SPM and the better okay, the better SPM and the time played, obviously he moves up 2 spots. In terms of gameplay, he's solid. Obviously, excellent communication. Keeps his composure. Knows the objectives. Knows the hard points. Knows the rotations. um, Knows the where to be at for domination to control flags and choke points. Recently we did a drill. He's much improved gun game wise, so he's gonna be surprising many people. I think in the coming tournament, because he's been surprising me lately with his AR game. When we do the Thursday night, so I moved him up because of all those reasons. So number
So
11.
Omni statistically a 13. I also have him at a 13. Um, his stats, 18 accuracy. His stats are pretty good. You're right. He's not afraid to grind. He's definitely got more than 4 days played because he has 2 accounts. He excels at comms. He's a talker. He'll fucking talk the whole game, so that's good actually. He's a morale booster. He's like, hey, come on, guys, we can do it, guys. Yeah, come on, fellas, we got this, fellas. Like he's that guy, right? And which is important to have, but his downside is, and I said this last time, and it proved true because he literally, I think, did it. Is he's like temperamental, and he could like just disappear if he has a bad game and he gets in his own head. He'll just fucking disappear from the map, and he won't say anything. So you gotta like give him a pep talk, tell him, hey buddy, you're the best, or piss him off. He plays well when he's mad, so you either gotta give him a pep talk, or you gotta tell him that he's the best and piss him off. So either or. And he's been improving. He's gonna grind. He's gonna put in time. But his downfall is sometimes he'll just fucking disappear. I think last tournament, I forget when it was. Like he just kind of like he didn't step up. I think everybody expected him to do more. So as a captain, you gotta like manage that personality, and then I think he'll.
Well, he was with me in the last tournament. I would say that I don't agree with you saying that he loses his cool. I think he's actually much more composed than I am. I think the problem with the last tournament is that we didn't practice enough, man. I think you guys were on. I remember telling them, you guys were grinding. There was a Sunday you guys were grinding for like 5 hours, and we didn't get together like you guys did. So. Practice is so important in this tournament, guys. I cannot stress that enough. So look for guys that can be available online 2 to 3 times a week at a minimum, because that's going to be an advantage. So
yeah, I don't mean
it.
he's not temperamental when he starts screaming. He'll just disappear. He'll just fade out of the game. He'll go quiet, and he'll stop talking. Is when he gets in his head. I think that's what happens to him. But yeah,
He's in Rochester.
Yep, he's in Rochester. I don't remember connections being a problem. He's boys with Vic. Like they know each other personally. I think they live near each other. Big Vic. So like they're like a package deal. I think if you draft both, they'll be excited. If you split them up, I think they may cry. So I'm just saying, they're like a package deal. Number 12, aces are the best.
Let's see. Aces are the best. He actually drops to number 15th on my list. And again, you'll see that throughout this, there's a theme. .99 KD is actually very strong in comparison to most other players, and that's probably why he's ranked so high on that on Jar's list. But when you factor in, or where you put in the weight on the score per minute of 277, that's actually not very strong. So that to me means that point 0.9 KD is coming because of camping, and not because he's playing OBJ. So just just take that into account. 18% accuracy is really good. 40% win percentage is decent. It's not great. And 10 days play time is good. I mean, he's gonna be available. He's gonna be online. So obviously that was factored in. But he drops 3 spots from the statistical ranking on my list for those reasons that I named. Um, from a strategic perspective, I think he has played enough where he knows the rotations and the points. I think he's a little bit quiet, doesn't really call out things as much as would like him to. Um, but I mean, he's a good gunner. I mean, if he plants himself here, like for example, right here on this window right here, he will be here murking dudes all day. So he's an AR type of guy. He's been sniping lately. He will murk people. Solid player. Just don't expect him to do a lot of OBJ. That's it.
Um, Aces are the best. So he is Eduardo. He lives in the city. I think he should have a good connection-wise. There's never been a connection issue with him. Um, I actually have him ranked a lot higher than you. I actually have him as number 10, and statistically he's a 12. I think he's another sleeper for me personally. I played a tournament with him 2 tournaments ago. I had terrible ping. I was trash. We probably would have won a championship if I had a good ping and I was playing well. So he carried us like he was slaying. So I think as a captain, you need to put him in the right place. If you say nothing, he's gonna camp right here. He's gonna be a main AR. He's gonna hide in one spot and not move. He's very predictable, but he's got a great loadout. He has a really good setup with a gun. He likes to put the 3x on it. If you say nothing, you'll sit here and you'll be in this corner the whole fucking game, and you'll never move for OBJ. He won't do a thing. But if you coach him and you work with him and you have a plan, he'll execute it well because he's got great aim, and he could often be like the kill leader purely on being a main AR. He's like a main AR type of guy. He's not an SMG guy. He's not going to break in. He's not going to be a rotation guy. He is pretty much a main AR. Sometimes he can be predictable, so when I play against him, I know where he's going to be, so I kick his ass because he's very predictable. But if he's on your team and you're a good captain and you know strats, you need a guy like that that's a main AR and wrecks people with a 3x scope growl, or no, he likes the CR56. So he has a really low win percentage. He only wins 40% because he just doesn't give a fuck about OBJ. He worries about KD. But you can manipulate that to be a strength if you use him to his. Number 11, beat on with the hose, AK beat on. What do you have him at?
Number 11. So again, he drops on my list. Because you factor when you start weighing in the score per minute and the KD, obviously that drops it from the statistical sheet that Jar has put together. So very low, very very low score per minute. I mean, score per minute the same as Chaba Ace, and
And Big Pun and Kibi.
and to put it in
That's a
perspective,
good point. He's got
Big
terrible score
Pun.
per minute.
Yeah, so that's the score per minute is the same as Big Pun, Kibi, and Shaba Ace. So, pretty solid guy. Will keep his composure. No strat, especially in S&D. He will kill you with the sticks. Fun
He
to
likes
play with.
assassinations.
Assassinations, yep. But unfortunately, just strictly looking at this objectively with the stats. I think obviously he was part of the winning team last tournament, so it's important to
Yeah,
mention that.
baby. The Wolves.
So he's a solid player. I mean, he knows how to win. If you give him a role and tell him I need you to do this, he's gonna be there. He's gonna do that, and he's gonna do whatever you tell him to do. Very good role player. So that's it for me.
So, K Bidan is statistically an 11. Once again, I have him ranked a lot higher than you. He's a 7 to me. I think he's nasty. I think I think he's one of those guys that you have to put in context. I think he fucks around in pubs. I wrote he's underrated. He fucks around a lot. He shows up just in time. He's busy. He's gonna be busy socially, so you gotta like manage your practices. But I think he's nasty. I think he's literally won the last 2 tournaments. He's been on the winning team with Beaton, I think, and Denari, and then or Top Secret, and then he was on the winning team with me. And he and I were the main guys that kind of developed strats and routed the team. So I think he's a sleeper because his statistics don't describe how good he is. He's big on the flank. You better watch your ass on any map, on any mode, because he will be flanking, and he loves S&D and he loves to flank. So he's a little predictable on that side because watch the flank, and if you pre-aim the flank, you're gonna fucking kill him. But he's really good. He's a slayer. He can hold down a point. Same thing. If you guide him and you work a plan, he'll execute it. If you don't work a plan and you're laissez-faire, you're hands off, he'll start assassinating people and just fucking get distracted. So I think that's why he statistically his SPM is what it is. But I think he's nasty. He's gonna. Next guy, Big Vic. He's number 10 statistically. Big Vic. What are your thoughts on Big Vic?
So Big Vic is I kept him at number 10th. I mean, if you look at his KD, 0.94, it's kind of middle of the pack for this group. So but has a solid 357, pretty solid 357 SPM, and then a solid 47% win percentage with about hold on, I lost track of him. 9 days played, so I factor all that in, and he stays at number 10th for me. For statistically, I mean strategically, he knows rotations. He's a little bit quiet. Tends to not do the call-outs often enough. But I think once he gets into a groove, he can kind of do that. You got to coach him through that if you're the captain. He knows the rotation, so he will rotate. He will. I don't think in domination knows how to control flags as much. So that's an area where I think he needs improvement. But he will slay. I mean, he is a tremendously hard kill. And he's gonna at times be on the top leaderboards, right? Be top 3 in kills. So someone to watch out for.
So Big Vic, stats-wise, he's a 10. I have him as a 12. I would agree that statistically, he's great in pubs. I think his downfall is comms. Like, I don't think I've ever heard his voice. I don't know what the man fucking sounds like, to be honest with you. So I think he would, and like you said, he could be the top slayer in pubs. But in CDL, in a format where communications is everything, he better like have a fucking epiphany and decide to speak. Because if he plays his normal way, he's a killer. But if he's not having comms, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. Because we're all gonna be fucking on steroids, stats on steroids. Or maybe you give him a role that doesn't rely on comms, and then he can slay. So I don't know. I downgraded him purely 100% on stats. He's good killer, hard to kill. Often is first place when we play on Thursdays and all fuck around. But that's not CDL. CDL is comms, and he doesn't have any of them. So I think that's the downside. If you're a captain and you draft him, you better fucking make lemonade and teach him how to speak, or otherwise you're going to pay the price. But he's nasty, but comms. And to me, comms are big. Next, Ace of Aces. Statistically a 9. I'll speak about Ace of Aces first. So, I think Ace of Aces has a 1.01. You're above 1.0 KD. So your KD has improved. SPM has improved. So 352, which play OBJ. Accuracy is actually going up because you invested in some fucking aimbot controller, so your accuracy has been going up. Winning percentage is pretty good, 52. You grind the game. You've played 17 days. My downside for you is you rage. You if the team is sucking and the team is getting fucked up, you're gonna like fucking get quiet. You won't say a word, and then like you won't do comms. And then like the team pays the price. So either you're like a 10 or you're like a 1. Either you're on fire or you're not. Because if you're not doing well, then you're gonna go quiet, and then it's like, fuck, yo, what happened? So like, I think your comms could use some work within the context of CDL, because I think you play main AR. I think is your main role now, and the main AR needs to be the guy that speaks the most, because he's like the architect of the middle. He tells the SMGs where to go, what he sees. And if you're not talking all the time, then that could be a problem. So that would be my downgrade. But killing wise, like you can hold down a side, and then everybody's fucked. So that's my take. What's your take? Oh, and I have you ranked as a 8. I have you're statistically a 9, but you're an 8, because I think if someone you got 8 weeks to teach you how to fucking force you to do good comms, and I think you're competitive, so you're going to do it because you want to win. So I think that's easily solvable, but that's the downside. If you don't harp on comms and work on comms, then you could pay the price. But to me, that's solvable because I've seen you do
No,
it before.
yeah, I wouldn't say rage. I would say that
Disappear.
I disappear. I agree with that. I don't say not to rage. I don't think that's a good description, but yeah, disappearing is probably a better adjective. If we're doing good, I will be there. I'll do. I'll be communicating. If people are communicating, I'll be on top of my game, communicating back. But if I see that people are drifting away and we're getting murked and destroyed, um, you know, I'm gonna try to do my best to get the win as best as we can. But if people are not trying, it's a personality trait for me, right? If people are not trying, I'm not gonna be carrying the team. So
Right? Yeah.
if everybody's giving 100%, I'm giving 200%. So that's how I am. So take it for what it's worth. In
I
terms
agree.
of I think I know the rotations. I play by role well. I can be SMG. I can be AR. I'm better at AR. I think, especially now that I've been understanding this main AR role. I think I've been studying that from other players, trying to learn locations and choke points a lot better. Um, um, Negatively, like you said, the discipline is definitely one. Um, I, I try to be a follower, wanting to be a follower. I can be a leader, wanting to be a leader. That can rub off the wrong way if you don't like to hear ideas and things like that. And you're the type of person that kind of wants to like run the show. Then I'm probably not the right person for you because I'm always gonna give sense. But I can back off and be a follower. So I'll play my role as needed. I live in
Back.
Virginia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me backtrack on the ping. So, Beat On with the hose. K Beat On is in Connecticut somewhere. I don't know real connection issues. He typically connection. Um, Big Vic is in Rochester. Also, no real connection issue.
You're breaking up.
Oh, okay. Let me. Here in Virginia, no real major connection issues. But I think one thing I'm learning is we're all scattered. So some of your team is gonna have a bad lag, and not terrible. I don't think any of you have any. J Balvin
Okay.
music.
The last thing you said came off. If you said anything,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. J Balvin music is 8. I'm 8 statistically. Go ahead.
um, hey, I moved you up to number 6. So the KD .94 is middle of the pack, but a pretty solid SPM. So when you factor that in, and then the solid 57% win percentage, when I added that to my new formula, that moved you up 2 spots, and then obviously factor in the fact that you've played 27 days, which is the most in the league, by a factor of like 10 days. That's a huge factor in my opinion. The fact that you've played that long, that tells me that you've seen enough matches, you've seen enough battles that you know enough about the maps, about locations, about how to counter situations when people are doing bad, how to choke the enemy even more when you're doing good. So again, you get that through gameplay. You don't get that, by having a 1.4 KD. So that's my opinion on that. Um, strategics from a strategic perspective, I think you're obviously pretty good at communications, call outs. Um, I think you are like me. I think you get frustrated. I think if people are not calling out, you'll be like, oh, what? How come you're not calling out? And then the team kind of loses focus if you're doing bad. If you're doing good, and everybody's on the winning team, you're gonna be, one of the top leaders because you're gonna be like, hey guys, we gotta make our call outs. We gotta go this way. We gotta change direction. We're getting destroyed going that way. We gotta go the other way. I mean, you're pretty good at that. So, yeah, and then you live in New York, Albany, right? Albany area. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm statistically an 8. I said I gave myself a 6. Um, I think my downside is I'm fucking very temperamental and impatient. So if guys do dumb things, and we're liable to get into arguments, but that happened to me in this last tournament, and we went undefeated and whooped everybody's ass because we worked through it, right? So I like to win. I'm very competitive, but if the team is a shit show and no one is doing comms and everyone's worried about their KD and no one's chasing OBJ, I'll say fuck it. Then I'll just stay quiet and not do anything. But that I think really happens more on Thursdays than in tournaments. In tournaments, typically I want to win and I'm here to win. And typically I've had good luck where I've had guys that we're all grinding the fucking game, and that's what worked well for us. So pair me with guys that are willing to grind, we're going to do well. If you pair me with guys that want to fuck around, clown, and not take it seriously, then we're going to beef. And either they're going to leave or I'm going to leave because I want to win. I'm not here to fuck around. My connection varies because I live in the boonies. I live in Albany, New York. I did pay to upgrade my internet, but there's times where I have a 70 ping and I'm worth jack shit. So, but I've done a couple of things to try to manage that, which I'd rather not discuss. I'm kidding. Yeah. Cronus, no, yeah, well, yeah, Cronus and my fucking Ned Duma R2 router. This shit's the fucking bomb. But anyway, statistically, I think you got to know what you're looking at statistically, because I worry about tournaments. Fucking, otherwise I grind guns. But my downside is big temperament. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I can get quiet if I get annoyed. So I need a group of guys that are like mellow and we're gonna like fucking just grind and all work together. But if I could easily get into fucking personality fucking arguments because I don't have patience. So I don't know what else to.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 7, Top Secret. What are your thoughts on Top Secret?
So Top Secret, I moved them up to number 5, because of my formula, right? Obviously factors in his KD, which is pretty strong, top of the list at 1.13. Score per minute of 316. It's not great. Surprisingly, it's a little low for a top tier guy, but it's solid enough that it moves him up a couple spots. And then obviously he has a tremendously solid win percentage of 55%. So and then about 11, hold on, yeah, 11 days played overall. So that when you factor that in, he gets moved up um, 2 spots because of the statistical differences and the weighing factors that I put in. So Top Secret, from a strategic perspective, he knows the rotations, he knows all the points, he knows he's a let's go guys kind of guy. Let's keep it moving. You know, he can tries to motivate the team a lot. Um, I think he's well, he doesn't lose his temper that much. I think he's a good guy to have from that perspective. I think he can lead and he can follow. He can, he's like me in that perspective. He can take that secondary role and kind of follow, or he can take that primary role and kind of lead. So he's very good from that perspective. And I think he's in Texas.
Yes. So he's a 7. I actually knocked him down to a 9, purely for the style that he plays. I think he he's like, if I had to pick a role for him, I would say he's like OBJ guy. Like he tends to hang back, hide in the point, be campy. He's gonna like crawl around. He's gonna like peek corners and play it slow. So to me, if you're gonna be the top guy, you gotta rotate early. You gotta kill two guys and lock down the point or something. Because that's the role that I think makes a bigger difference in winning. So I think he plays a lot like Jar, where like they're more campy, they're sneaky, they're stealthy, they're really good. They know where to hide. But if you know to expect that and you know where to look, then you can get him. He's very good strategically. He's a good communicator. He's a good organizer, kind of team builder guy. But as a skill set, if you already have that role on the team and you need him to be a slayer and go out and rotate and fucking kill two guys and break in and I don't think he typically plays that. I think he typically plays like an M4 main AR. And he's in Texas, so he can't really play fast because he's probably on a shitty ping. So he probably plays as best as he could with his ping. If he tried to put an MP5 in his hands and charge in, he would lose on just fucking cameraing and ADS. So, but he's a great, he's like a sleeper pick where he can be like a top guy, and he's really good at S&D because he's stealthy and patient and sneaky, and so you know I think he's really strong at S&D. If I had to pick a mode for him. What else did I have on secret? Yeah, just that doesn't try to be like the main slayer. So like I just downgrade the role that he typically plays. Not him skill set, but if he plays that role, then a lot of guys could be OBJ Campy. Like, Ace of Aces could be OBJ Campy, right? So next guy, Wheezy. Wheezy stats wise is a 6. What are your thoughts on Wheezy?
I moved Weezy down 3 spots to number 9. Again, factoring in his KD 0.91, it's actually mid to low. Solid SPM though of 327, but has a tremendously high winning percentage of 62%. And obviously has a lot of gameplay of 11 days. So when you factor all that in with the weighing factors that I put in, he actually drops a little bit to number 9, but not by a lot. Um, Wheezy, strategically, he's one of the best communicators in the game. He knows all the points. He knows all the rotations. Um, I think hardpoint wise, he's probably one of the best players you'll want on your team. From that regard, I don't know about domination that much. I don't know if he knows how to control the flags and the points and the choke points. So keep that in mind. Um, gun wise though, he's gonna get killed by the top tier players. So anyone that's ranked 10th and above, it's likely gonna have him on. Gonna be able to kill him. But he's gonna take care of the people that are, pretty much 10 and below. So, uh, put it in perspective, things you were saying, like what role he would play, I would probably have him at flank control, or maybe like um, like base protection, like a C flag protection or A flag protection. Kind of watching the flank and things like that. Hard point wise, he will probably need to run and gun. So, but I don't know if that's his strength. So I don't know. Um, but that's it for Weezy. I mean, personality, he's a good, cool guy to get along with. No issues. He doesn't lose his composure or anything like that. So it's pretty good.
All right,
That's it.
Wheezy. So stats wise, he's a 6. I knocked him down to an 11. And for
Wow.
one reason. Yeah, I think he's been playing poorly recently because honestly, I think he's just lost interest in the game. I don't think he's grinding. He used to grind a lot. He knows all the maps, knows all the strats, knows all the rotations. I think he's just bored and burnt out with the game and playing it just for fucks because he's not grinding it the way he was before. He was like an AR guy that would be like a route man, like the early rotation guy, and I think he excelled at that. But I just think he's not grinding the way he was before. Some guys are busy, right? Some guys got other shit going on. I think fantasy sports started, football started. He's all about other shit. He's not grinding the game hard. So he's no longer top guy number 6 Weezy to me. He's just like, he's a decent guy. You don't got to teach him the routes, but I don't know if he's going to be grinding it hard on practice. You know what I mean? Like, that's really why I downgraded him. been the route guy as far as a role. He lives in the city, so he's always has, I think, good ping. There's no connection problems there. Been the route guy. I wouldn't put him on a flank. I think he is the route guy, but I just gotta. I would need to understand, like, what role he wants to do. How much does he wanna? Does he want to be a leader as far as strats wise, or does he just want to like show up and take a simple role and like not be bothered by too heavy of a role? You know what I mean? So I think that's really my downside for him. I bust his balls a lot. I think he's a great player when he grinds, but this is big money. So if he decides to grind, he could be like he was old Weezy and be good. But he's not a slayer. He's more like a sneaky guy. He's more like the guy that's going to rotate to get spawns. But you could kill him. You could outgun him. But if he's on his game, he could be stealthy and get you spawns. That's how I would use him. I would use him to get spawns and try to have him avoid engagements because he's probably rusty because he hasn't been grinding the game. That's so. Next guy, Jar. That's why he's a 5. What are your thoughts on Jar?
So this is the guy that is gonna shock the world right here. I moved Jar up to number 2. And let me tell you why I moved him up. Obviously, his KD of 1.1 is solid. His SPM of 915. He plays a lot of Warzone, so I had to knock that down. But not by a lot. I gave him a 400 SPM just to keep it significant. But he has a solid accuracy, low win percentage. Again, I factor. I moved that up a bit because he plays a lot of Warzone. Only 1 day play, but man, when you factor in the SPM and the KD, and then you add the fact that he is just a slayer. I've played with him in Warzone and I've played with him in multiplayer, and he can kill people, man. He can mow people down. He knows the rotations. He knows the points. Um, the only area that leaves a little bit to be desired is his leadership and him like kind of controlling the gameplay and telling people what to do. But that's a minor thing for me. I think from what I've seen enough from him that I think he's actually number 2 on my list.
Jar, stats wise, he's a 5. I have him at 4. He's a Warzone guy. I think he's got weak comms. I don't think he's just like he just doesn't talk the entire game. He gets a lot of kills, but if you're not telling me where you're getting those kills to help the team, then it's a struggle. So I downgraded him for that. He's definitely a great slayer. He's campy. He's like a top secret. He's like an OBJ guy. He'll watch the point, but he's not the type of guy to break in and take over the point. He's an AR. He's like a growl guy, probably from the same gun he uses in Warzone. Not a big strats guy.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, we saw
With what?
plenty of gameplay with where he was breaking into the point last tournament. In fact,
I
against
just,
you guys.
but we beat him and we swept him. So he really didn't. So like I'm just saying. I think he's really good at guarding the point and being OBJ. But he only played 1 day, so getting him to grind and practice may be tough. He may decide to grind, but the last time he logged on was September 3rd. So we're going on 9 days that he hasn't played Call of Duty. So like that's just he doesn't grind the game that much. He's good. He's grinded previous Call of Duty games. Lagging? Yo, can you hear me?
I'm lagging. I'm like, can you hear me?
I hear you, but I can't even run. I hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm frozen. I can hear you. Keep going. Keep going.
All right, so that's why I have him as a 4 because he's so good. There? All right, there he is. So yeah, I think Jar is an enigma in as far as how much he's going to grind in the next 8 weeks because he's played 1 day in 9 months. So that's really the question mark. If he's going to grind, he's going to be a fucking top guy and carry. But if he's not, um, then he could just very easily disappear. Hey, Ricey, we're doing the pre-draft show for the league. Talking back and forth. Um, not going to be the one that like calls out strats, but he's a slayer. He'll lock down the OBJ, and just for that alone, he's super valuable. You want to run the game, or we're going to talk here, Ace?
We can talk here. I don't care.
All right. Yeah, we're almost done. All right, next guy, Nightwolf. Statistically, he's a 4. What are your thoughts on Nightwolf? He's captain. He'll be drafting.
Yeah, so I got to mute Iceman. Hold on. So Nightwolf, I got him ranked number 7. To be honest with you, I was surprised to see some of his stats, particularly his KD is actually surprisingly low at 1.02. For what we consider to be a top tier guy. So when I added my formula and that 1.02 actually took down 3 spots, but obviously has a very solid 397 SPM with a tremendously solid 48.9 or 49% winning percentage with 7 days played. So but factoring all that in with the weighing factors of the time played and the KD, he actually went down 3 spots for me to number 7. I think he is obviously a very good player. He will take command of a game. I think he likes to play AR mainly. Um, I, he's has a good personality, knows the rotations, knows the points, knows the choke points, knows how to maintain flags, what's an advantage point for his team, and where to stand and where to how to move around the map. So overall, very good player, but drops 3 spots for me.
So Wolfie is statistically a 4. I have him as a 3. Actually, I think he's underrated. I think he's nasty, but his downside is his comms are a little weak. He's not really the main driver organizer for strats, so someone else will have to probably draft that because that he's very busy. He's a young dude. I don't know if college.
Breaking up.
He he wasn't he didn't like we just won, right? He was our tier 1 in the last tournament, but he barely made it to practice. But he showed up and you couldn't tell because he wrecked. So you gotta put him in a role that he can just slide in and dominate based on his skill set. But he's not going to be an everyday grind guy. But he's the captain, so I'm sure he's going to draft to complement or supplement. But he's predictable. Bidon knows him well. Bidon knows where he's going to be. I know him well. Kevin knows him well. He's predictable. He's a flanker. He's always going to be on the flank. The Bidons like to flank, so that's his downside. Next guy, A Crux Alliance, John Carlos, some fucking thing, new guy. Buddies with Nightwolf, but they're both drafting, so they won't be on the same. Statistically, he's a 3. He'll be drafting second position. What's your take? Carlos? We played with him last.
So Acrox actually came in at number 3 for me. Surprisingly, this guy on paper is amazing. 1.31 KD is actually the highest in this tournament, as well as his score per minute of 4.35. At super nice accuracy of 22%. And a okay winning percentage of 43%. But after factoring in the obviously the weighing factors of after KD and the score per minute and the 3 days played, he came in right at number 3 for me on my list. I've had the chance of playing with him 2 or 3 days last week. He is a slayer. He will kill. Unfortunately, he doesn't know the rotations. He doesn't know In one time, he was standing on the wrong side of the map, and that caused us to lose um, the spawn point. So for that reason, he didn't move up for me. But because of his solid statistical numbers, he I kept him right at number three. Just for that. But he snipes. He seems to be a sniper slash AR player. Uses a scope, which is a little odd for a top tier player. For them to use scopes on their ARs, but he does and he slays. So it is what it is. That's my opinion of him.
A Crux. Okay, so I have him as a three. Think he's I think underrated. Um, I mean, not underrated. His statistics, stat wise, he's amazing, but he's got low comms. So, or he's a five. I said three. He's five. So he's at one notch or two notches below than what his statistically ranking is. He's got a high KD, but he doesn't know CDL really. He just started playing CDL recently. But this is a long league. So I learn, and whoever's on his team has to support him with strats wise. And I think he's gonna grind because Wolfie's gonna play. They're boys. I don't think he's just gonna disappear. But he may have to be used like a jar or a secret, where it's like, okay, you're OBJ, dominate here, wreck people here, but you don't need to run around the map. And he's not gonna be the one calling out, but he could be great at guarding the OBJ, and then he'll be a slayer and he'll do well. But if you try to put him as a main AR, struggle because he doesn't have the comms. He doesn't know CDL like that. He doesn't have spawn
Yeah,
control.
I consider dropping him, like you're saying, but I'm looking at his raw stats and statistically, and then the fact that I played with him 2 or 3 days, and he dominated the teams that he was against and a few times, and then obviously was top of the leaderboard a few times. I'm convinced this guy can play, and it's just a matter of him over the course of 8 weeks, gonna maturing to understand patience, hard points, and choke points. I think he's gonna be a top tier player. In fact, I think this guy might be up there, maybe behind Nanya, and perhaps beat on. Might be up there with beat on guys. So
I think Beaton is Beaton because of his strat. Danny's the number one ranked guy, but he hasn't won a chip. I think he's more Danny than he's than Beaton. To me, that matters. So, but hey,
yeah,
he could
I
change because he's
got you.
got 8 weeks. He's
I
got eight
got you.
weeks.
I got you. You're right. You're right.
Um,
And but I'm not gonna drop Nanya number one just because he hasn't won, right?
I wouldn't put
It's
Danny at number one, but he's not playing, so it doesn't matter. Number two, Chester, Mr. IT 23. What's your take on Chester?
Chester, my boy. I dropped Chester to number four. Again, very solid numbers. I think the second best KD at 1.25, which is tremendous. But when you factor in his score per minute of 320, for a top five guy, I think that's the lowest in the top five category. It's in fact, and with the likes of Top Secret, Wheezy, and Omni Cloud. So his score per minute leaves a little bit to be desired. That to me tells me, the KD is maybe a little bit campy-ish. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. Uh, Super high accuracy of 26.7%. 5 days playtime is a little low. Again, when you consider the top players, everybody is 10 days plus for the most part, except for maybe Jar. But then Jar, again, he has like a million days played in Warzone. So you have to factor that in. I think combined, when you factor in the 5 days played with the one day that Jar has, plus the whatever 20 so games Jar has in Warzone, Jar really overtakes him because he has so much more game play in this game, right? Um, uh, Overall, from a strategic perspective, Chester, he's solid, man. He watches videos. He knows he's a good leader. He'll tell you where to stand, um, where people should go. He'll make assignments. Especially in the last tournament, I think he improved a lot in that regard. from the previous two tournaments. He became a leader in my eyes. Was telling people this is where he. At times I think we felt to execute some of his strategy. He actually put together a freaking sheet with for with rotations for people to stand on, and I studied them and was practicing with him every night. But it was most of the times it's him and I, and either a third person randomly. So I think for Chester, the statistically just drop here. My list is number four, but when it comes to strategizing, game playing, and things like that, if you consider that, he's probably top three. So um, that's it. That's my take on him.
So Chesty, let's see, he's statistically a two. I actually have him ranked at one. I'll explain. I think he strategically is very good. I think the reason I have him one over Beaton because I think Beaton at this point is predictable. Like I think Beaton has dominated because he was ahead of the curve, but I think at this point people know how to counter him, whereas Chester just really changes strats. Like he doesn't have one set role, one set approach. And in the league format, I think that's dangerous because he's always like looking at the other team and trying to change it up. So I think if he executes and he builds the right team, I think he'll run away with it. Accuracy is disgusting. He's both good with the M4 and the SMG. So the fact that he's disgusting with an SMG to me premium because he can be that rotation guy. So like earlier, my knock on Secret was that he plays OBJ. So that's why I elevate Chester because he'll rotate and he can take over the point. He can take out 2, 3 guys, no problem, and do it often. So I value that. I think his downside is he's kind of too soft spoken. I think you need more like confident and pushy and organizy and like, hey, let's do this. Hey, what are you doing? Like the other day, he made one call out like, hey, this guy and I go to A, and I was like, all right,
I
all right,
disagree with
sure.
you. I
So
think
so
in
I
the
know
last tournament he took a big step forward.
yeah. So exactly.
In that regard.
But changed strategies, didn't work, and lost. That's why this tournament, I think he would. I think he learned from that experience, and I think he's going to come harder this time. And that's why I have him ranked one because I had him ranked high there, but he needed like that experience, that team building kind of dynamic, learn his lessons. And I think this time he's going to come confident. I think he's going to just fucking destroy. And I expect him to learn and lick his wounds from the last tournament and be a lot better this time.
I think with Chester, if he does what he did last tournament and he gets four people that are active, he will win this tournament. That's bottom
Yeah,
line.
he's due. He's the next great player that doesn't have one. He's due. So I would, yeah, I have him as a one as well. So top
Yeah.
guy statistically beat on. What are your thoughts on beat on?
So beat on, I have him as number one. Um, obviously very solid KD of 1.17, which is the third best. But when you factor the fact that he has a 400 SPM, that is tremendously solid. That tells me this guy is not only an entry type of guy, always around the objective, but he's always getting kills in the hot zones, meaning people are shooting at him, he's shooting at people, and he's always OBJ. So, when you factor in the fact that super high SPM and super high KD, obviously he moves up a lot. Solid accuracy and obviously the win percentage of almost 60%. That's, no slouch there. And obviously, I had to factor in the gameplay of 17 days and the knowledge that he has with the maps, the rotations, um, the choke points, when to keep at a strategy, when to switch strategies. Um, you know, I think super cool guy doesn't really get rattled. Um, even when he's doing bad, he's gonna be cool. So when you factor all of that in, I think he comes number one on my list just because like you said, he can be that entry guy that dominates. He can also be AR that dominates. He can switch it up. He can coach people. Um, he's done that in the past. Uh, that's it for me. Oh, and the last, I don't think we said where the last three people live.
Oh, true. Yeah. So
Chester is Wisconsin, right?
yeah, so Wolfie's in Connecticut. A Crux is somewhere in Connecticut because boys with Wolfie. Chester's in Wisconsin. He, like me, recently invested in routers, so he should have a better connection. But he doesn't excel. He's not like in a big city next to ping. He doesn't beat you on ADS like Beaton. Beaton's got an amazing connection. He'll wreck you with a 10 ping. So I don't think Chester really has that type of connection. So Bedin, he's been the number one throughout. I downgraded him partially by, I mean, for me, to me, he's predictable. So like, on Gun Runner or on Hackney, I'll go down the middle and he's gonna turn the corner down the middle and die. You know, like he's like he on St. Petro, he'll be trying to be sneaky down the middle, boom, die. So to me, he's become predictable. I think he got used to dominating and stopped changing it up. And I really wasn't a fan of the team that he drafted, like his strats last time. I think he drafted like 4 main ARs, and you're just not going to win with 4 main ARs. So I just wasn't impressed by the way he built his team last time. And I think that Chester is more like dynamic in his strats, and so I kind of elevated Chester. I mean, skill wise, gun kill wise, Beaton's going to be kill leader. He's going to wreck, but I think you can strategize against him because, like I said, I know what he's going to do, so I can counter him. I don't really know Chester's approach. I've played with him lots, but he just changes it up that I'm like, shit, like, how do I counter him? So that's why I knocked Beaton down a little. Because if he drafts the way he did last time and does the same strats or a little predictable. But gun kill strats wise, he's like me and Chester. We watch CDL, we know strats. He's a great killer. He's got an amazing connection. So half the time he kills you before you even blink because he's like on a 3 ping. It's insane. Really good, obviously, but that's my downside. Great comms. Sometimes I don't think he's aggressive enough. So like he doesn't like I don't know. That's my knock on him. But I think Chester's really the one that I think is gonna run away with it. But Beaton could always be in the conversation. Changes up his
I,
dynamics.
I disagree with you on the aggressive part. I mean, he's got a 400 SPM for a reason over
Yeah,
17
but that's
games.
pubs. Dominating in pubs is different to 7 CDL or however 5 CDL maps and set strategies. And I have time to prep, and I'm going to have film on you. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to watch you for 5 weeks. I'm going to see what you've done, and I can counter him. Chester just changes shit up. I watch him. I watch Chester do S&D maps where he like fucking throws the smoke in an arc lav down the middle, opens the door with stuns, rushes in, pre-nades it, boom, plants, takes over the building. That's aggressive. Beaton doesn't do that. Beaton is like, oh, let me fucking do this. That's just my take. That's why I think Chester's more dynamic in his strats. So,
Okay.
final words. What are your thoughts? What are your parting
I think
words?
this is I think this is gonna be a pretty exciting tournament, just like every other tournament. Obviously, you've had a lot of you've talked a lot of smack about you winning the last tournament. So
Undefeated, baby.
this is what's at stake. If you wanna hear this guy talking shit all the time, you gotta win. You gotta beat him, and that's it. I mean, what's at stake here is the ability to talk shit. Especially if this was gonna be prolonged. It's gonna be a season. You're gonna get to talk smack onto the next season. So recommend, especially the guys that are drafting, recommend you think about your strategies around, you know, practice. People that can be available and can practice. That is so key, man. I can't stress that enough. Just gelling with your team, coming up with strategies, locations where people stand, people are gonna move, um, things like that, man. It's still so important because, you gotta gel with the team, man. If you don't practice and you show up for the game, you're just so that's it. That's all I have.
I think so. What I wanted to say is this is on. We've never done this format before.
You're breaking up,
This here is
breaking up. You're gonna have to start again.
he has to stream. You hear me, Ace, or no?
I hear you better now.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I'm just saying that we're gonna have a lot of film on each other. Time strategizes and counters plans the best because you lose your ass the first 5 weeks, get it together, and dominate the last 3 weeks. All the money if you make adjustments. So you want to win, you want to put stats. If you play for fun and play for ha-has, then so stats is gonna fucking have you. And don't let me win because I'll never shut up. So anyway, I think that's
That's the
that.
truth.
That is a fact. So next day is Tuesday. I don't know the time. I'm guessing time. If the chat wants to tell me when the draft time is, but WhatsApp. And I hope everyone takes it seriously. Signs. There is a substitute policy, so if shit happens, we all have lives. Then there is a way.
You're coming in and out, bro. I don't know what it is.
Oh, draft is at 8. Draft is at 8 Eastern time per top secret. All right, that's all I had. Thank you, Ace. I think we're good. Let's wrap it up.
All right, peace out. Are we playing or are you logging out?
No, I can. No, yeah, I'm gonna log off.
You're logging off, you said?
Yeah, I'm gonna get off.
All right. We don't. Are you playing?